I just bought the biggest driver in the world. What's happening, Panda Nation? Peter Von Panda here. I just bought the biggest driver in the world. It's a 750cc driver. Look at this bad boy. Just came, so I thought we would check it out. 750 cc's is gigantic. It is not conforming by any stretch of the imagination. You cannot use this for regulation play. The max that you can use is 460 cc's, I believe, and I actually have a driver that's bigger than that, so it's also non-conforming, but it's not quite as grotesquely big as this one. But I was impressed that I was able to get this at this price point. Apparently, it's titanium. It looks like it might be, but I've seen some videos online that suggest to me that it might just be pretty fragile because they have broken. This head is what you order, and then I actually got it with this shaft here, and this one is called the AccuFlex Assassin, and it was the stiff shaft that was available, and then we have kind of a wrapped tour grip on the end. The whole thing here was about 150 bucks. So in terms of drivers, it's actually fairly inexpensive, and it might be more of a novelty than something that's really going to improve your game. I will say that based on how big this is, you probably won't miss the ball, but that doesn't mean that it's a great driver, that it has a huge sweet spot, or that it sends the ball very far. But first, before we get into the test, we need to compare this little bad boy to some other drivers. So here is my normal driver. It's a Callaway. It's 460 cc, so it's as big as it's allowed. I'm going to do these all from the same angle here, so you can see that this is the driver that most people will be using when they're out on the course. Now, take a look at this driver that I recently picked up. This is the Big Buddha by Orlamar, and it is a much bigger driver, and actually it is 520 cc, so it's quite a bit bigger, and I'm hoping that it has a bigger sweet spot. And Orlamar's been making clubs for a long time, but if you can see here, if I just take these, put them side by side, 460 and 520 cc's. Now let's take a look at going from a 520cc and a 750cc driver. So you can see how much bigger this is. It's obviously white, so it's very bright and stands out quite a bit. But if we take a look at the 750cc versus the 520cc and then the 460cc, you can see here how different they are. If I just rotate them like this, side to side, put them right on top of each other, let them hang right on top of each other like that. 460 to 750, quite a bit bigger here. I feel like I could take this driver and hit this driver off the tee with it. So I do want to show you this driver in a little bit of detail here, because it's not a premium driver in any sense. And if you just take a look at pictures, it looks pretty much like every other driver, but the quality of the paintwork on it is pretty poor. So this top is glossy white, but you can see here where they've painted these black stripes on. Even the masking that goes into getting these lines is not particularly good. Now there are some indentations here, so I think that will add a little bit of structure. I'm kind of worried because it's so big that if this thing is hollow, there's actually not a lot right behind the face supporting it. It says Integra on the back there, and you can see here all these little paint lines. They're pretty poor quality, and the paint is pretty raised up. So as opposed to something like a powder coating, which might be more durable, or a really hard enamel or something like that, I don't really feel like this is anything more than almost a rattle can paint job. You just kind of mask it off and paint it. And even where we have some bare metal here to transition into this painted area, the paint here is just not particularly impressive, and I can really feel the ridge right there where the paint is higher than the rest of the metal. You can just kind of feel that. And then you can see the printing on the sides there and color-filled lettering. And then the face here, quite big. I think this thing is going to be very loud. The whole thing is like a resonance chamber in some ways. And so I think you're probably going to wake up the neighbors when you hit with it. But all of this is kind of gimmicky and so far not really impressive. But if this thing is impossible to miss and sends the ball a long distance, hey, you know, could be fun, could be worth having in your golf bag just to make your golfing more enjoyable. So now we have to take it out and try it out.
Much later.
Okay guys, so I just came back from the driving range and hit this club, and I thought I would hit a couple balls with it and then film a little bit. And here's the story. I went to the driving range first thing in the morning here, and there were only a couple other people, and they were kind of spread out. One guy was on the far end, one guy was in the middle, so I went to the far end, so I didn't want to bother anyone by setting up my camera. And I went ahead and teed this up, and I hit it just like I would hit any shot. I only hit one shot because this thing is so ridiculously loud. I can't tell you how loud it is, and you can't tell by looking at any of the videos, because I've seen some of the other videos of guys hitting this and they all talk about how loud it is. This thing is super loud. It is like getting into the tee box and having those tee markers out there, like those stone concrete ones, and then setting up to hit one of those off the tee and just swinging the club into like a concrete barrier or something, because it is so loud. It sounds like something's broken. And it was so loud, I hit a golf ball with it, and I kind of threw the club down because I thought the thing shattered, because it was just ridiculously loud. And I looked around, and both of the other guys, one that was probably 15 yards away, but the other guy was a solid 30 yards away, and they were both looking at me. So I didn't want to keep hitting this because I didn't expect this to get any quieter. Listen, I didn't hit this enough to tell you if it's going to be longer, straighter, and more forgiving. I don't think it would. I didn't hit it in a very good spot, and the ball did not fly very well. But even if I had started dialing it in the center, and even if it flew as far as my regular drivers, the sound this thing puts out is so atrocious that you just cannot hit it around people or wildlife or airports, because everyone will hear you. And so I would not pick this up, even though it's about 130, 140 bucks, and it's the biggest thing on the market. And if you just swing wildly all the time and you're just looking for a big basketball-sized face to hit the ball with, this isn't the club. So anyway, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this. I might just let some of my friends tee off with it sometime, just to scare the living bejeebus out of them and probably create seismic activity. But otherwise, I don't think that this 750cc driver is worth your time or money. That's just my opinion. If you do want to pick it up, I'll put a link to it in the description, but I'm also going to put a link to my favorite driver as well, so you can check that one out and check out my video about it. It is the Callaway Rogue. Peter Von Panda, out.